What a game. The Winnipeg Jets and their former rivals, the Washington Capitals, keep rolling through Winnipeg. That's 9 in a row for Washington if you're keeping track for the amount of times Washington has punished the Winnipeg Jets, but the Winnipeg Jets get an ever vital point, even though they lost Nikolaj Ehlers. They go down another superstar, but hey, you know what they say? Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports with me, Coach Ryan T. Jets fans, this is one of the best games we played all year. Unfortunately, we didn't get the result that we were looking for, but we did get a point. I don't consider this stealing a point. I don't consider this coming out of the game and going, we were lucky to get a point. This was our game from the time the puck was dropped. There was a whole bunch of bounces and foibles and just interesting things to discuss in this video today, from line combinations to time on ice to how goals were scored. I'm going to break down some of the goals for you at the back half of the video. We're going to talk about the kids, Samberg, Perfetti. Who's Poganski? Poganski? We're going to talk about Poganski. So first things first, in our last video, we're doing a lot of math here to see where the Jets stack up. So some good news for Jets fans. Dallas is on a bit of a slide. Minnesota's come back to average. Colorado, they're gone. Don't even worry about Colorado. Second best team in the NHL behind the Lightning. The Nashville Predators, they've started to look human after all. So the Jets have actually become a little bit, closer to that playoff spot that is required mathematically because of the slides of the rest of the people in the Central Division. We also talked about the fact that we're on a 4-game road trip and the Jets need to take 6 points out of 8. So they got one, but this was a really good game to capture 2. They were unable to get it done. We also talked about last video the fact that the Jets would likely see 2 out of the 3 Eastern Conference teams they played backup goaltenders because, frankly, all the Eastern Conference teams they're playing are in a playoff position right now. They're very good teams in the East. It's a great time to go ahead and get your backup in. We got one backup tonight. It ends up being Vitek, Vanacek, but Washington's an interesting team because both goalies really do get an even split. I've got Samsonov as their best goalie, but Vanacek is no slouch. He goalies the Jets again tonight. Connor Hellebuyck's not bad. We're going to talk about all the goals as they go in, but the math works out. We have 1 out of 6 points, so 5 points to go out of the next 3 games. You can lose 1 in overtime, and then you got to win the next 2. And the Jets must beat Nashville, which is their next opponent. So they have to beat Nashville. They have to beat them clean and not in overtime. That is the key to the Jets' success of getting back in the playoff race. So this didn't totally derail the Jets, but it's a little bit of a kick in the gonads. The story of the Winnipeg Jets tonight is Dave Lowry and the Winnipeg Jets' depth with a little bit of sprinkling of Cole Perfetti and the kids. Let's start with Dave Lowry. Jets fans, I'm going to take a victory lap here. I've been saying it for a year on this channel, 2 or 3 years to anyone that would listen, that penalty kill is a coach's area, and Paul Maurice was just not doing good enough on the penalty kill. This isn't a beat up Paul Maurice video. This is a way to go Dave Lowry, interim or not. Lowry knows how to coach PK. It's the same players that Paul Maurice had available to use. And as I've said on this channel many times, it's not about what player necessarily you put out. It's how you coach the system on the penalty kill. And Dave Lowry, again, continues to have one of the best penalty kills in the NHL since he's come on board with Winnipeg. The Jets power play, however, continues to sing as Kyle Connor ends up potting the first goal of the game on the power play. And then we saw it. The rest of the power plays, there was 3 more after that. The Jets had 4. The Jets were on fire. I mean, their power play looks absolutely fantastic. So 2 areas that the coach is very responsible for and can control, Dave Lowry has just excelled. I mean, it's a 25% difference to the penalty kill under Dave Lowry. Just take those stats to the bank. That's not player motivation going, hey, it's a new voice. No, that's system and that's coaching there. The second lap that I'm going to take is from the beginning of the year. I've been saying Cole Perfetti is a top 6. A lot of you have though too. So, I didn't just make that up out of nowhere. Perfetti is now on the first line. He's not coming away from it. Team. He's not leaving it. He's locked into the top 6. Yes, he got 13 minutes tonight compared to 21 minutes that was the average for the PLD line, but that's okay. Dave Lowry is actually protecting his young players. I'm going to get into Dave Lowry and rookies in a second, but Cole Perfetti fits on that line because he's skill. Skill needs to play with skill. Stop telling me over and over and over in the comments and in the Jets groups and forums that, well, this tough guy should play here or this team guy. No, skill with skill. It's very simple. Are you fast? Do you have hands? Can you play a game at a high level? You play with guys that match your skill level. Perfetti, Connor, Dubois, that is line 1 for the Jets. I don't care if Scheifele gets the line 1 argument, if you will, line 1 placement in the depth chart. It's the PLD line. Perfetti is one of the best playmakers in the NHL. What a beautiful feed to Pierre-Luc Dubois there. They almost scored off of it. I mean, Perfetti was on fire with the 13 minutes that he had tonight, and he can get the puck to a dangerous scorer in Kyle Connor. Pierre-Luc Dubois, just that big, mucking power forward that we love. I mean, there he is, number 80. Got my Dubois jersey going. Perfetti fits that line beautifully. Let's talk about the kids. Dylan Samberg plays 11 minutes tonight. Cole Perfetti plays 13 minutes tonight. And Austin Poganski also plays 13 minutes tonight. Very interesting. Samberg steps in with Pionk on the second pairing, but he doesn't get second pairing minutes. Stanley and Schmidt get more ice time than Dylan Samberg does. Neal Pionk still logs his normal 23 minutes. What happened? Well, that means Samberg missed shifts. Samberg only got to play every second shift. It was Samberg, then he was replaced by a vet, and then it was Samberg again. We also go ahead and we look at the fourth line, and the fourth line with Reichel, Tony Nato, and Vesalainen, and they got about 6 minutes. So for all the stuff that we talked about, that Dave Lowry is excellent at balancing his lines, when you take a look at tonight's game and a few of the patterns Lowry has, he's not afraid to play his big guys who are playing really well in the game. Andrew Copp ended up with almost 26 minutes. He led the Jets. He was above any defenseman. That's like absolutely mind-blowing that he would get that amount of ice time. But Copp had one of the best games for the Winnipeg Jets. He just couldn't get a goal. Copp, Scheifele, and Ehlers, just a fantastic line tonight. Scheifele deserved 2 or 3. Ehlers deserved 1. Copp deserved 1. This game was handedly in control by the Winnipeg Jets, and any of my Washington Capitals fans watching this, yep, you played a great game. We're not taking anything away from the Capitals at this, but this was the Jets game. So that's why I say the Jets didn't end up stealing a point, and we got to go back to our point that, yes, Lowry plays the young guys and gives them a chance, but he protects them. He protects them and puts them with guys who are going to help them succeed into positions where they can make a positive contribution, not get yelled at. And usually that means limiting their ice time, and their ice time has been limited. So, you know, it's a balance. The rookies are playing, but in a limited capacity, and the big guys, the big guns, as you will, they're still rolling like they've always been rolling, even under Paul Maurice. Now, I'm going to make a whole nother video series about what the Jets should do at D with guys like Chisholm, Samberg, and the depth that the Jets have. But we got to keep this little video a little bit short and talk about today. Let's go ahead and look at the back end. I continue to see the Logan Stanley, like, we don't like Stanley, he doesn't know what he's doing. How can you let Ovechkin score? All right. First off, Nate Schmidt caused the goal against Alexander Ovechkin. I'm going to show you that a little bit later on. Logan Stanley also made that beautiful stretch pass where Cole Perfetti ended up in on that 2-on-1 that fed Perfetti to get his goal. Stanley had a very good game. He even tried to block a shot with his face tonight. So look, I'm not a Stanley's the greatest defenseman of all time. That's not at all. Stanley doesn't deserve a lot of the hate that he ends up getting. Like, this guy is a productive NHL player. And frankly, I'm going to say 2 of those goals were on Nate Schmidt. So, I mean, he's a $6 million guy. He's a top pairing defenseman. He's down there to help out Stanley, help him mature, help him grow into it. He's the one that ended up making some of the mistakes tonight. So it happens. It happens. Let's go ahead and talk about that knee on Nick Ehlers. At the end of the day, Jets fans, this is why, like, if you went ahead and you saw my other videos about suspensions, when Scheifele hit Jake Evans, when Neal Pionk got suspended, heck, I was even promoting that Jason Spezza shouldn't get much of a suspension because the NHL is a freaking joke team. Ehlers is likely going to be out for 2 to 8 weeks. That's my best guess. Not a doctor. Wait for the doctors to tell you. But I do have doctors that are friends, and doctors that are friends very close to the Jets. That's all I'll say. They say it's going to be 2 to 8 weeks, likely an MCL sprain on the low end. Could be up to an MCL tear on the high end. Could be a bruised knee. Could be a lot of things. We're never going to know what it is. We're just going to have to wait for the timetable to return. But I would be very surprised if we saw Nick Ehlers skating tomorrow. Now, should that be a suspension? Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw Neal Pionk get 2 games for this. Will it be? Probably not. The NHL sucks, so probably be a $5K fine. Should it have been a 5-minute penalty? Absolutely. Did that cost the Jets the game? Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell if the reffing ends up costing you a game or not. The Jets had control of that game, and you've got to take destiny into your own hands. The Jets had plenty of chances to score. They ended up hitting 2 posts. They were buzzing all night. PLD ends up putting it in the end. Just an absolutely beautiful goal. Continues to make his stamp as the best Jets player up front, not named Connor Hellebuyck. And Hellebuyck had an okay game. I mean, the screen that went in on the second goal, we'll break that down too. Is that Helly's fault? Not really. The third goal, bad bounce, but we've talked about it before. Hellebuyck's the king of getting crappy bounces scored in on him. So I don't know what that's all about, but hey, it's par for the course. And then Alexander Ovechkin scoring one. Cross the Royal Road, of course he did. It's the grade 8. He's going to end up scoring. Let's go take a look at some of those goals, though, so I can back up a lot of the crap that I just told you before this. So starting on this first goal, you'll see that Perfetti, 91, has the puck pinched off against the boards. He makes a beautiful pass back here to Logan Stanley. And then I want you to take a look at what Perfetti's doing here on the back wall. Perfetti is going to read and react to this play. He's going to make sure that Stanley has control of the puck here, and then he's going to leave the zone quickly. This is exactly what you want a breaking winger to do. It's incredibly intelligent, and that pass by Stanley, because it's hard and it's quick, it ends up moving up the ice properly. And that pass was not a missed pass. You can see the trajectory of the puck here. It actually follows this pattern. Stanley with his head up, beautiful play, ends up stretching the ice. This wasn't a missed pass by our player here who was the outlet for Stanley. He ends up moving it up the ice. This was a purposeful play. He gets a beautiful assist on the second goal. So the kids, Perfetti and Stanley, beautiful feed, cross, and Perfetti buries it for his first NHL goal. Way to go, Cole. The second goal here is just as much on the fourth line as it is on Nate Schmidt. This isn't an ideal scenario. When you're going to put out your fourth line, you do not want to have Logan Stanley and Nate Schmidt paired with them. But anyways, an excellent forecheck ends up turning the puck over. But what you see here is Dominic Tonnato backing up, nervously playing D. He's got to be puck supporting. When we talk about puck support, that means he needs to be close enough that when a turnover occurs, he can end up pushing forward, and he doesn't. So a turnover occurs here because of a fantastic forecheck. Tony Notto can't take advantage of it because he's backed up way too far. He should have just kept pushing forward. Then what ends up happening, because Tony Notto doesn't go, the forward that's supposed to be back there supporting actually ends up going, and now we're in just a huge confusing mess, and we have three forwards that are caught at a bad spot, and it's just exploited properly by the player down here for Washington to a beautiful stretch pass. That stretch pass ends up over here on the grade 8 stick, and Logan Stanley right here has beautiful body position. You may think this is getting burnt, team. This is not. This is proper defensive zone positioning. His feet are facing up ice. He has a beautiful angle here in which to take Alexander Ovechkin to the boards. Ovechkin doesn't have a single play except a little bit of a toe drag here, and Stanley ends up taking this puck away from Ovechkin. This is perfect D-zone tactics by Stanley. There we see it. Beautiful long reach. You can't teach reach. You can't teach size, folks. That size ends up getting there. The puck ends up getting coughed up. Stanley's made the correct play. Now what needs to happen is Nate Schmidt actually needs to back in and hold this area, while Tony Notto needs to pick up the back checker. This is lazy by Tony Notto. I don't like Tony Notto. I've never liked Tony Notto. He's a totally replaceable plug, in my opinion. This is not a skating stance. This isn't a stance of a man who is making a back check. You need to back check and turn this 2-on-2 into a 3-on-2, but he doesn't. He glides in the zone. This is why you get 6 minutes and spent that much time in the AHL there, bud. Now we see Nate Schmidt ends up committing. He shouldn't commit, and the grade 8 ends up getting open for an absolutely beautiful goal. But when we look here, this is still Logan Stanley's man. He's able to get into position for it. If Nate Schmidt stays out here like he's supposed to stay, and Tony Notto still doesn't know where he is, by the way, folks, look at this shoulder check. What are you looking for? Go in and pressure the puck. You're the centerman on the line. You're supposed to support. This is supposed to be Tony Notto's man. It's not. They end up scoring. Yet everybody is going to blame Logan Stanley for this one because we're just not watching the game like a coach. Logan Stanley is the only player on that play that did everything correct. Total failure from the other four on the line. Not an acceptable goal, but this is Alexander Ovechkin. It's what he does. I'm just saying, the other four were totally out of position. Stanley was the only one doing his job. All right, goal number 3, Logan Stanley as well. What do we want to do as defensemen? We want to defend the dot. That means the dot makes a line back to the close post. We want to keep everybody from the dot to the close post to the outside, and that's what Stanley's doing here. So we have good position by Logan Stanley and a really nice delay by Tom Wilson. This is an awesome zone entry here by Wilson, and this isn't what you want to see from Nate Schmidt at this point right now. His back is turned to the player. He's done a little bit of a back check, but it's better than nothing. He's in a good position here, and this is just a beautiful delay by Tom Wilson. But again, this is good D-side positioning by Logan Stanley. He's done everything he needs to do. This is a 2-on-2. He went to stand him up. Wilson makes a beautiful move. He's still on the right side of the puck, which means he's between the puck, which is down here, and the net, which is over here. That's exactly what you want to see by Stanley. He's not out of position. He's not caught leaning anywhere. He's in a good spot. Now what we see a few frames later is that big reach in from Stanley, and it actually works. This is what I mean. You can't teach size. But Stanley has to do this out of desperation because he sees this is now turned into a 3-on-2, and that's a problem. There's no back checker here. You need to have a back checker in this sense. Nate Schmidt now is caught in no man's land. He doesn't know what to do. Do I step up or do I stay here? And he's correct at this point. He has to step up and take this man here, which is going to leave the down low presence. Our back checker finally comes in, as we saw here. And now what we end up seeing is Poganski is going to end up shooting a puck from the short side here. But tell me something. That looks like goalie interference to me. You got to throw the challenge flag on something like that, Dave Lowry. Like, I get it. There's no flags, but that is 100% goalie interference. That's an easy play to challenge. You may not win it because I don't even think the refs know what goalie interference is, but that is a textbook definition of goalie interference. He ends up clipping the pad, not allowing Hellebuyck to get back and make the save. Hellebuyck wouldn't have made the save anyway. It was a weird bounce off Schmidt's skate, but still, you need to be able to challenge that. And sometimes that's just the challenge of being an interim head coach like Dave Lowry is. Maybe he just missed it, but he's got other people on the bench that should be watching the iPad that can phone something like that into him or whisper in his ear and say, "Coach, we should challenge that." You know, Hellebuyck knew that in the back of his mind. I'm not sure why they ended up letting that one go. We end up going to overtime. It's Connor and it's Scheifele. I would have put Dubois out there, but Connor, Scheifele, Morrissey, you put him out there because it's speed. 3-on-3 is all about speed. There's not much to break down in 3-on-3. It's kind of a rinky-dinky game at the end of the day. Like when you win, yeah, you need it, but it was Tom Wilson again. Scheifele didn't do a good job getting back on that 3-on-3. PLD would have been the play I would have put out, but I mean, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. I understand what Lowry is doing. So there it is. Lowry's playing the kids, but he's protecting them. We're all going to beat up on Logan Stanley. That game, we shouldn't. He was actually pretty good. The fourth line got 6 minutes, deservedly so. They're not very good. Donato specifically has no idea what he's doing. Vesalainen's got some hope. Christian Reichel, he's not bad. I mean, when we talk about Reichel and we talk about Poganski, these are just 2 AHL career guys that understand the system from the Manitoba Moose that's very similar to what's happening in the Winnipeg Jets. And we need players like that developed in the Moose system between the ages of 23 and 27 years old, which is exactly where these guys are. They're journeyman players that can go in and plug in and give you some time. Look, Poganski was okay. The block on shot 2 wasn't great by Poganski. He's basically an NHL journeyman. He's basically an AHL journeyman at this point. He's played at every level of hockey possible. He ends up sticking in the lineup because they end up winning. He works well, and he's a good checker. He plays a role. So Winnipeg Jets fans, we got 1 out of a needed 6 points, 5 more to go, 3 games left. Got to beat Nashville clean. Subscribe, sub, join this channel, Jets fans. We'd love to have you in.